I'm Drew. I play guitar and bass in the band Breakthrough, and today we're looking at the Westminster Effects Wycliffe V2 Fuzz. The Wycliffe V2 is Westminster Effects' take on a ram's head big muff, but with a removable tone stack and a voltage control knob, which allows you to voltage starve the fuzz for some really weird sounds. I personally love really weird sounds, so that premise spoke to me quite a bit. I bought this with my own money when I saw Cody Fields from Westminster Effects make an announcement that he was planning on doing a V2 of his original Wycliffe Fuzz. I needed a big muff for my baseboard, but I had been dealing with some tone loss with all of the ones that I had tried before. The idea of a removable tone stack intrigued me quite a bit because I figured, hey, I can bypass the part of a big muff that causes so many problems when playing bass. I did ask Cody after I bought it if he would be willing to send it early so that we could make this video ahead of the release, and he graciously agreed. Thank you so much, Cody. And so without further ado, let's get into it. So let's cycle through some of the knobs, sweep through their ranges, and see what they do. Let's start with gain. Here's my clean tone first. We'll activate the pedal. Right now we've got the gain set at noon. So let's start by just seeing what the bass line is. Now we'll start sweeping it down. So you can hear it gets to be kind of a moderate overdrivey type sound. But even at the bottom of the gain, it never really goes no gain. If I turn my pickup down, I can start to pull that gain down even further. But who on earth buys a fuzz pedal to turn the gain down? So let's go up. It's got a lot of gain potential on tap. I find with most of the Westminster Effects pedals that stuff set right at noon is pretty great. For this one in particular, though, I really like it set to about 65-75%. Now, as with any volume knob, that's just going to change your volume, so we're not going to mess with that too much. I've got it in kind of a sweet spot. I want to next talk about the tone control. So this is essentially a ram's head big muff style pedal. So the tone stack within the pedal is going to be pretty similar to that profile. So we're just going to sweep through the tone while we're playing. We'll start at tone set to 0 and then move it right on through the full range. Here we go. So we can hear right at the end of the range, it is brittle, it's harsh, it's kind of the stuff that I like to layer on top of rhythm tones, something that just cues up that high end, something really, really nice and harsh. Kind of in that noon spot is the sweet spot. I know that Cody designs pretty much all of his drive pedals to be like ideal right at noon, but I like it kind of in that noon to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock range. It creates some pretty awesome, weird sounds. Now we get to one of the two very unique features about this pedal, and that would be the voltage knob. So, as Cody has explained it to me, the voltage knob essentially is just pulling voltage from the pedal. So maxed out, you've got full voltage, and then as you sweep it down, you lose some of that voltage in order to simulate a kind of dying battery sound within a battery-powered fuzz. I've noticed that, and you'll probably notice a little bit too, as we cycle that voltage knob down, some weird stuff starts happening where you start to reintroduce what sounds like a little bit of the clean tone into it. You will also hear some pretty crazy feedback sound, which pitch-wise, it actually changes as we pull that voltage down too. Kind of a neat little thing. So here we go, voltage. Now there's a little trick I like to do when I'm recording clean guitar parts and stuff. I like a little weird lo-fi goodness. And so if we set that voltage knob to about 25% or so, we can get some really interesting break-up. There's that fun little pitch. So we can get some really interesting little break-up that I find to be like pretty useful, especially when paired up with some reverbs and some other kind of fun lo-fi effects. A little vibrato on there. But you can get this really cool, it fades out quickly. It's just adding texture on top. If we actually bump that voltage up a little further than that, about there, it's just this like super sweet, thick wash of disgust. And if we bump it up a little further than that, we get some more sustain back. And if we turn the gain down as well, it's just like a lot of added texture. It's a super fun way to layer in some huge sounds to an otherwise gentle part of a song. I love doing stuff like that. So the voltage knob can be super fun to play with. The other really unique thing about this is we have this switch. It says tone stack. You have to be careful with this. What it does is removes the tone stack from the circuit. So this is great if you want like the big muff gain structure, but you've got some other EQ after it or even ahead of it that you want to manipulate the sound rather than the muff tone knob. And so the byproduct though is that the volume increases quite a bit when we pull the tone stack out. So let's pull the tone stack out and see what happens. Put the voltage all the way up, so we'll max that out here. We get full power. If we crank the gain a little higher, this is super great, especially on bass guitar. It's really, really thick. You do not lose low end from it. It makes things real heavy sounding real quick. So with bass, one of the big problems with big muffs is unless you get the right variant, something that's either made for bass or like one of the 90s Russian ones, you can lose a lot of that low end. And with the ram's head, we do always run that risk. Versus, so we have that like volume drop because our tone stack's engaged. Now we can make that tone, bring that tone down, emphasize the bass. But then we lose out on the cool high end fizzle of that fuzz. So we don't want to do that. Instead, what we are going to do is flip that tone stack switch. We are going to reintroduce a lot of volume and remove the tone entirely. We get that low end, especially with the pick. So being able to remove that tone stack, super handy for when I'm playing bass. Again, that clean. So we can have a lot of fun with it if we combine it with some distortion on the old amp. I'm using, by the way, a 70s Sun concert bass amp. We introduce that distortion. And then we throw the big muff in front of it. Lots of fun can be had. So the highlights of this pedal, I really think it's handy to have lots of tonal variation, lots of options, and this does have lots of options, especially with that switch to disengage the tone stack to be able to control that with my own other EQ pedals. I also love a voltage control on a fuzz pedal. I like using fuzz pedals in ways that you wouldn't necessarily normally see them used, especially on like clean tone, weird breakup on a clean tone, super fun. So I love that. The only drawbacks I've found, or drawback I've found rather, is that you lose quite a bit of volume when you engage the tone stack. But you can adjust for that with your own presets on your volume levels and gain levels of your other pedals. I also forgot to mention, this thing is MIDI compatible. You can use MIDI to activate or deactivate the pedal. That can be super handy too if you use a spaceship board like I do that needs a lot of MIDI control for all of the pedals to work together well. This is not a paid ad. I bought this thing. I like it. It's pretty fun. If you are interested in looking at it yourself, we are going to include a link to Cody's store, Westminster Effects, in the description, as well as other links in our description, maybe even a bobcat or two. Sean's eyebrows right there. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the jam. I hope you enjoyed the demo. If you did, like and subscribe, leave a comment. If you didn't, like and subscribe, leave 2 comments. We'll see you next time. You can chop that up and make it good, right? Okay, cool.